YLE Robotics Show. I am here with Team 76, 77, Bodacious Bulldogs. I am here with Travis, Ethan, and Morgan. First and foremost, guys, how are you guys doing?
You're doing really good. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Well, actually, real quick, if you guys don't mind, what year are you guys in?
Well, I'm a senior this year.
Okay.
I'm a junior this year.
And I'm a senior this year.
Okay, so two seniors and a junior. Okay, perfect. Well, that'll come into play a little bit further down in the interview. But let's actually pick up with Grand Forks. Actually, I believe I was able to talk to a few of you guys during the Grand Forks tournament. Let's start there. How was Grand Forks for you guys?
Grand Forks, we had a lot of ups and downs. We had quite a few issues, but at the end of the day, we got through them. It was just really interesting. We had some major problems with our autonomous sequences that would absolutely destroy our robot. We went through an entire arm assembly because of an auto failure. But we did manage to get figured out with help from other teams and helped us get a long way to where we are today.
Okay, no, perfect. Oh, so a few questions. So the autonomous was the big hurdle for you guys in Grand Forks, and that caused something with the arm, or was it there's one thing with the arm that's really jacking the autonomous?
So when we would go into autonomous mode, specifically on the Red Alliance side, it could not find its position properly, and it would drive right into a wall after doing its base commands. And our arm was unfortunately down at one point, and it rammed it right into the wall.
Okay. All right. So it really was just hey, once you were on the red side, it was just this stinks. Okay. Man, that does stink. So, I mean, was it a simple fix for you guys, or was it something that you guys were scratching your head at the entire time?
When we were able to get help on day 3 from Keith River Falls, who were amazing helpful, they showed us that in the code, it would automatically detect Red Alliance, whereas where we had it manually detecting Red Alliance or not, which it flips its position if it automatically detects it. So basically, when we were running auto commands for the Red Alliance, we were using completely different paths than our Blue Alliance, and it was completely mixing them up.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So Grand Forks, it kind of seems like it was a wee bit of a mixed bag for you guys. How was the atmosphere in Grand Forks? Again, I always love going to it because somebody said it perfectly. It's like a rock concert down there with the fans and everything else like that. I mean, were you guys able to, even though with the coding situation and everything else, I mean, were you guys able to just kind of breathe and, take it in? Or was it oh man, we're really just hyper focused on what's going on with the robot?
I'd say a little bit of both. We were focused on trying to fix our robot for a few matches and then figure out all the coding issues. But on the other hand, we were able to us, especially the seniors, we were able to sit back a little bit, kind of soak it in as our last time in Grand Forks, go around to the different booths, but also had a good time watching all the matches.
Oh, perfect. Now, so Grand Forks ends. You're able to, with the help of other teams, you're able to kind of fix what's going on with the robot. Between Grand Forks and the St. Cloud event, how much going back to the drawing board, or how much of the robot was kind of brought down to the studs, or was it just oh no, we fixed it, we're good to go?
I know we added a few different pieces. So for our arm, we had steel on there, but it was really thin, so would break pretty easily. So we ended up being polycarbonate, and we used that as our base of our arm, and that worked pretty well, I heard. So then I know we also with our arms too, they were really long.
so we weren't able to hook onto the chain as well in Grand Forks. I know we got new ones actually, and we made a whole new arm system for hooking onto that chain.
Yeah, kind of like what he said. We also had one major downfall after Grand Forks. Our swerve drive gears completely ground themselves together. So like going right almost a couple days right before the Granite City Regional, we had to order gears or else we wouldn't even been able to drive.
So what do you mean they they fused together? They just stopped working, or what happened with the swerve drive?
With so much excessive use on them without proper cleaning of them, because we didn't have any covers or anything for them.
Oh.
They slowly kept on grinding down as the time would go on, and eventually one of the days we just heard a snap and one of the gears was completely gone at that point, while the other three were hanging by a thread.
So this actually kind of ties into another question, is what did practice kind of look like between event in Grand Forks and the event in the cities? Is it hey, we're going pretty much full force and we're gonna drive it and we're gonna do everything, or is it more like, oh, we're just tweaking stuff a little bit here and there?
So we changed our practice schedule to Monday, Wednesday, Thursday due to other sports that a lot of the other robotics kids are in. But a lot of the practice was fixing the little mistakes we had, and then the rest of it was driving practice, working on how to control the robot and how they can work around the field and all that.
Okay. Yeah, during these practices, we would first initially, whatever we broke, we would fix. Then we would go on to driving practices where we even at one point had a defense bot against our swerve bot for this season just to get some defense factor into it, which that might have implied why it kind of ground down the gears some more. But along with that, we also implemented a limelight camera onto our robot to get a better vision of the human player station, which we also worked on that heavily during practices because limelight was pretty hard to code.
Okay. So talk about the function of that limelight camera. What is that?
For our purposes, since we were just so short on time with the limelight, we used it as just a basic camera with the LED shining onto the node. But as the off season progresses, I am working on April tag functions to get, for instance, just have it to do headings to exactly to the point that I need it.
Okay. No, perfect. And we'll definitely touch back on the off season for sure here. But before we do that, the St. Cloud event. So Grand Forks, you had the autonomous, which then caused a thing with with the arm during practice and everything else. You're grinding down your swerve drives. What is that feeling going into St. Cloud, with all of the little bumps and hurdles that you guys were coming up against?
We were very nervous. I wouldn't say nervous. We were pretty confident. At least I was pretty confident going into it because we fixed all of our, what I thought we fixed all of our problems, and we've only done two regionals once, and that was last year, and they were back to back. So this year we had a little bit more of a gap in there to practice. So I was a little more confident going in there. We did this 3 weeks ago. We practiced everything. We fixed everything that was wrong with it. And so I thought our robot was ready to go. I was pretty confident going into it. So
yeah, I was not as confident as him because I am the lead coder for the team, and I was making last minute changes on the way up there, and I had no clue if they were gonna work. But luckily they all worked, so that was a bonus.
Okay.
But unlike the building aspect of it, I was much more confident than going into Grand Forks because we've had time to fix it and correct it and have it almost down perfected to where we needed it.
Okay, no, perfect. So So I'm guessing, I mean, did you guys all travel together or was it all separate cars and everything else like that?
Well, I personally didn't go to this St. Cloud one. I was in a different event in Indianapolis at that time, but what you guys do?
Yeah,
So because we're really close to St. Cloud, some of us went separate and some of us went together. So it was kind of
Okay. Okay, so it was just hey, just meet up there and we'll figure it all out. Okay, no, perfect, perfect. Now, okay, so you said you were in a separate event in Indianapolis. What were you doing in Indy?
So it's like the Shell Eco Marathon or whatever. So it's like basically a super mileage event where you make a car and kind of a go-kart essentially. And you go down there and you compete against like colleges and different high schools around North and South America. And this year I made a electric car. So we were able to bring it down there. It was our first year doing the Shell Eco Marathon. So it was kind of neat. So
No, that is awesome. So basically what you decided was like, hey, making a robot isn't enough. I got to make an electric car as well, huh?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. I tell this to everybody. You're talking to a guy who can hardly like I can't toast correctly. So you go and like, yeah, I'll build a robot and I'll go build an electric car. That's absurd. That's crazy. I'm always in shock of you guys doing everything, especially going to those events and seeing it. Now, how once you get to St. Cloud, how did you guys did the robot fare better? Did all the extra work, all the fixes, hold up? What happened?
so our ranking at the end of the event wasn't as good as it was in Grand Forks, but our performance, at least in my eyes, I thought we performed very well. We had minimal issues with our robot. It did everything we wanted it to do, and it performed. I'd say it was probably one of the best robots there. We performed very well. We were very productive on the court.
No.
Yeah, like what Morgan said there, sure our ranking didn't show that we were that good, but just looking at the stats, we averaged over 50 points a match almost every single match. There's one case where our robot did have a brownout error, but that really wasn't there was no electrical fault in it, which was surprising. We just didn't know why that happened. It didn't happen anytime after that, but like I feel that our robot did really good at the event in total. It was definitely better than Grand Forks. Our autos worked for the most part. We had very minimal issues. We worked really well with our alliances and it went better.
No. And that's all that's absolutely perfect. And again, I always look at kind of outside looking in, right? The game is such a small part of robotics, at least from, again, outside looking in. But everything else that you guys are doing, just the, learning how to work is such a big deal. So you guys, you saying like, okay, yeah, sure, we didn't place where we wanted to, but everything else worked out fantastic. Like that's always fantastic to hear. Now, St. Cloud is over. What has I use air quotations on this because I've learned very quickly you guys really don't have an off season, but like how has the off season been for you guys?
For me, it's been going pretty well. I am definitely touching up on that coding for the April tags for the Limelight. It's been hard and slow, but I am getting to learn it pretty well. I'm definitely looking at making like lists of parts that we need for the robot next year because there is definitely aspects that I want to improve on our robot that we just didn't have the time for this year.
All right.
And as a senior in another spring sport, there isn't really much for me to really do in the off season because I'll be done in a few weeks with graduation and stuff. But I plan on coming back as a mentor and helping out the team as much as I can.
Oh,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. When I'm like when we come back from college for like breaks or whatever, I do plan on coming in and helping out, being a mentor, maybe giving him a few tips, even though he knows quite a bit more than I do when it comes to coding and stuff. So
Yeah, along with the off-season aspect, I am also working on getting a list together to go do a lot of community outreach this off-season, because community outreach for us is our most important factor to even go to these competitions in the first place.
Oh, okay. Well, anything on that list that you're like, yeah, we're doing this, or this, or is it still all in like early planning mode right now?
A lot of it is still in early planning, but we are determined to do multiple parades within the local communities, along with having little interviews and shows of our robot and the Lions clubs for like Bertram, Gray Eagle, Swanville, because they are our most important factor. They donate so much to us, and we are so grateful for them, because without them, we wouldn't be able to even go to one event.
No. And again, that is awesome. And it is really cool to, hear about the outreach programs and everything else like that. And for you guys to go and do all that, again, is nothing but fantastic. Now, real quick, for Morgan and Travis, the two seniors, I guess, let's start here. How long have you guys been like doing robotics?
So I've been doing robotics for about 4 years now. I started as a freshman and I kind of worked my way up pretty slowly, but like my sophomore year, that's when I actually got into like working on the robot and everything. Cause like my freshman year, I kind of sat back and just watched the older kids work on it. My sophomore year, my junior year, I got more involved working on it more. And then my junior and senior year, I was actually team captain. So I got like the biggest role, making sure everything's like moving along. And that was like, I think my favorite part of my whole robotics career right there was like being team captains, watching everyone work and like getting everyone corralled together to work on these certain projects.
So I've been in robotics for 4 years. I joined my freshman year because that's when we were able to do robotics. And I split my winter season for robotics and basketball. So I showed up to practice when I could, and I worked on everything. I worked on the robot, or we worked on separate things with the robotics. Like we built the carts for the robotics for like the robot, and then the player station so we can put our controllers when we drive a robot. And then my junior and senior years, I really worked on designing the robot and then learning how to use the plasma table to cut out the parts for a robot, and then welding it all together and making the frame for it.
Okay, perfect. Now, this again, you guys being seniors, like kind of taking that look back. I mean, is there any I believe you already kind of like answered, but like anything that stands out like the most, where it's like, yeah, no, this is probably my favorite memory?
Probably either, being team captain is one of the biggest things, but probably going to the competitions, competing against other schools from like all over the country, meeting new people. That's always one of my favorite things, is meeting new people, seeing how they built their robot, how their like team works, because we're a small team, so everyone does everything. But like when you talk with these big teams, they're like, yeah, we have people just doing this, people just doing that, and people just doing this. And it's like, that was like kind of a weird like shocker, because like we do everything on our team. So it's like just talking to people, seeing how they work or whatever, and what works for them and what works, but what doesn't work for them, and just kind of like networking. That's probably one of my favorite things.
Okay.
I'd say the best memory I have from robotics is just being in the shop room and working on the robot and hanging out with my friends on the robotics team, because a lot of the thing with my friend, like things that me and my friends like to do, is just sit in a shop room and work on stuff. We get to weld and be able to build stuff, because that's like what I really like, is just building things.
Oh, perfect. Now, and again, being seniors, taking that next step in life. Has, your time in robotics, has that kind of shaped any future plans for you guys, or has it always just been like, hey, we're doing XYZ?
So with me, being in robotics helped me like see that I really like building stuff or engineering stuff. So I plan on going to college at Michigan Technological University to major in mechanical engineering.
It was kind of like I really enjoy like working on stuff and like building stuff. So it was like a hobby of mine. But I actually plan on attending Northern Michigan University to just major in criminal justice. So it's nothing to do with engineering. But it was like but like building this robot stuff was like a really big like kind of hobby of mine. It was a passion of mine, but it wasn't like that's not what I want to do for like the rest of my life. You know what I mean? But it was something like really fun to do and something like a really good life lesson I've really like pulled out of FRC.
No, that's always big. Like I said, those little life lessons that you can go throw in the toolbox and carry on to your, the rest of your life. That's ginormous. Now, real quick, before I let you guys go, a few last questions. What did we think of the game this year?
The game this year, for my own thoughts, was a lot simpler than previous years. It was a straight A and B process. So like this year was like one of our first years that we were able to relax a little bit more and really advance our robot. Like for past previous years, we've always been using tang drive and mechanism drive. This year we decided to take the leap forward to do swerve drive. That was one of our biggest implementations of this year, was to get a swerve drive robot working. It was like more of a build year for us. With this competition in general, we were also more focused on getting autonomous, because any previous years before, we had like a very, very simple autonomous that would like drive back for like 2 seconds and that would be all done. This year we were able to use FRC's path planner and build we had like 8 autos in total that would do multiple 3-node and 4-node autos. It was just a really big impact on us this year.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I also thought the game was definitely more simpler than last year. Last year we had a cone and a cube you had to pick up. This year we just had a simple ring. You suck it into your robot and you just shoot it right out. It was more of a simple thing to do because it was just one shape. You didn't have to focus on anything else. It was just the one shape and you shot it into the high goal or the low goal, and then you just go over and then you climb.
Personally, yeah, I like this game a lot better than last year. This game was a lot more fast paced, a lot more, I feel like, more competitive than the previous game. And yeah, it was a lot more simple, like they said. It wasn't like you were making patterns or stuff like that. You were just shooting in either low or high goal. And I feel like I enjoyed this game. Probably one of my favorite games out of my robotics career, I would say.
Okay.
I feel like,
oh no, go ahead.
I feel like this game really gave a lot of teams the opportunity to take a leap into really furthering their advancements in their technology and hardware for their robots this year.
Now, and you brought it up a little bit there, especially because all of you, it seems like every single one, you've been in robotics multiple years. What has been your favorite game thus far?
I would say probably this one, or the one I think it was like would have been my freshman year, so 4 years ago. That was what was the name of it again? It was the Star Wars one.
Infinite Recharge.
Yeah, Infinite Recharge. Either that one or the Crescendo one. This year was probably my favorite one.
Okay.
My personal favorite was Rapid React, just because I really liked the robot's design for it, and it was just cool because our robot that year looked like a cat. So it was just really cool. One of the best moments I had at that event, it wasn't like a best moment, but it was just really interesting. We were hanging on traversal climbing. We were hanging for like 10 seconds. And then after the buzzer rings, the rope completely snaps.
Okay.
It was like just karma.
My favorite game would have probably been 2 years ago. So my freshman year, there's these big like giant tennis balls you'd have to suck into your robot and then shoot into either a high goal or a low goal. I think that was my favorite game because that was our best robot that we've had at the time, and it was like I would probably say one of the best robots we've had. It worked really well, and it was a good thing because our senior that year helped us out a lot and kind of took charge. That was probably my favorite year.
Perfect. Now, again, this being the last question, everybody, no matter what you're doing, you always have expectations and, goals that you set right from, week 0 or even the announcement day back in January, right? How do you guys feel you did when it comes to that goal? Do you think you reached the goal? Do you think that goal changed throughout the season?
My strict goal this year was to get Swerve Drive working, and I felt like I completely accomplished the goals on getting Swerve Drive and autos working. That was my biggest goal for me, and I felt like I accomplished it.
No.
A goal I set for me and the team was just to have a working robot. I feel like that's always the goal, is to have a robot that works at competition and not just building it the day before. So having a working robot somewhat was a big accomplishment.
No.
A few of my goals beginning the year was at least just like having the team work on a robot, like all together, not as one person doing everything, trying to get everyone involved, especially with our younger students. And I feel like we were able to accomplish that for the most part. Getting new students involved with everything, I think we did a pretty good job on that. So.
Okay, perfect. Now, any last thoughts? Anything you want to say before we end it?
I know I have a few things. I just want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to us and get our thoughts on this. So I do really appreciate that.
My thoughts are that I'm just really excited for next year's game. Reefscape sounds like a really interesting game, and I feel like it's going to be really diverse.
Okay, if you don't mind, so we already know the name of next year's game. Do we know anything else about it?
We know that it's going to be centered around an ocean theme with coral reefs in it. We don't know any implementation or manipulators or anything like that yet, but we know that it's definitely going to be a really, really vibrant and different game.
So is the meme finally coming true? Are we finally getting water based or
it's water themed? I don't know if there's anything that's going to be actual water in it, but it is a water game, as the rumors are true.
Okay.
We always joked about having a water game, and for my senior year, it's going to be a water game. So
absolutely,
I'll take it.
My thoughts, just thank you. Never really done anything like this before, so it was really cool to sit down and talk with you.
Oh no, well, it's always awesome talking with you guys. Seriously, thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk to me. Tell some stories, tell all the fun and all the hurdles that you guys went through the season. It's awesome. Always loved hearing the stories. So again, thank you guys for taking your time. For everybody else, we'll be right back.
Engineering, architecture, land surveying, environmental services. We have the experience to tackle all manner of projects. Widseth is known as a firm that is solid, agile, and versatile. And that's the kind of reliability you can expect when you engage us on your project.
They are invested in our community. They are invested with our people. They're going to create a product that's going to exceed our expectations every single time. That is why we go with Widseth.
At Enbridge, we believe sustainability is the foundation of our success. How well we perform as a steward of our environment, a safe operator of essential energy infrastructure, a good neighbor, and a diverse employer defines our success. Learn more about Enbridge's environmental, social, and governance commitments and our Indigenous Reconciliation Plan at enbridge.com.
A foundation forged in their grandfather's shop. Matt and Mike Martins know firsthand the value of quality machinery. At Martins Welding and Machine, they rely on 3 generations of knowledge and expertise in creating quality products for farmers, ranchers, residents, and businesses across North Dakota and beyond. To browse their full selection of bin caps, bale feeders, rock lifts, disc attachments, and more, visit martinswelding.com. Also ask about their garage doors. Martins Welding and Machine. Matt and Mike will make it right.
This is Chris from RDK Enterprises, your local precision planting dealer. Manage what you can to overcome what you cannot. Farming is all about preparing your operation to be successful when given an opportunity. Invest a few minutes and bring in your seed meters to be reconditioned and calibrated. We have some room, so give us a call and we can help you overcome those simple obstacles. RDK Enterprises, 636-2119 or planterdoc.com.
Gordon Construction of Mahnomen is a Native American-owned business proudly operating on the White Earth Indian Reservation since 1983. As a bonded general contractor, Gordon Construction provides years of experience in large, detailed, and within-budget projects. Gordon Construction is committed to the safety of its employees and the environment of its work sites. To learn more about Gordon Construction of Mahnomen, visit gcmahnomen.com or call 218-935-2191.
And we're here with Rory Held. He is the coach of 7048. And I would go through all your titles here today, Rory, but I don't have enough time for that, unfortunately. But yeah, just kind of here to recap the year. I know you were at World, just a bunch of different things like that. Just kind of use this as our end of year recap. And yeah, just kind of starting off with Worlds. I know that was very recent, and I know you have some results from us from NMRC participants. But yeah, just tell us a bit about how you thought Worlds went. Kind of maybe just kind of, yeah, just go over what you thought about this year before we hop into results.
Yeah, so this year Worlds was held in Houston, Texas last week. Most teams traveled in Monday, Tuesday, and a lot of them were leaving Sunday, Monday, getting home the 22nd. Worlds was a ton of fun. It always is. The first championship event is always something to take in. On the FRC side, they had basically 8 different regional events of 70 plus teams running side by side. So when you get that many fields going side by side, it's certainly a show. You got almost 600 teams competing on the FRC side under the same roof. So it's always intense. There are teams from around the world. Certainly one of the teams, came from Israel, had some travel difficulties with the turmoil going on over there. So it's a great opportunity for students to meet teams from around the country and from around the world and to understand and get a better understanding of what those teams go through and deal with. But it was a great event. The NMRC had 5 teams represented down there, so that was quite impressive as well. So that was a great showing.
Yeah, and just kind of speaking on those 5 NMRC teams, I know you mentioned that you had some results off camera. So yeah, I just kind of want to hop into those and tell us how our teams did.
Yeah, so for this year, our teams in the NMRC, we had 2 teams win Impact. the highest award possible at a regional. So we had two teams win impact. Those two teams were Fred 2883 and 3134, the accelerators. So fantastic job to those teams. We had one team win engineering inspiration, and that was 7048. So congratulations to them. We also had a regional winner at 876 from Hatton Northwood, North Dakota. Then out of the rest of the teams too, we had 5 regional finalists. We had a judge award. We had a team win team spirit, autonomous, quality. We had 2 teams win gracious professionalism at their events. 2 teams won innovation and control. And we also had a Dean's List award winner this year. So it just looking through the awards, it is significant what the NMRC teams achieved this year and the caliber that the teams are. It's really cool to see what they achieved this year and to see them all in competition.
You kind of mentioned Dean's List there a little bit. That's one I'm not too familiar with. So what is that exactly?
So the Dean's List is a individual award that teams nominate a student or 2 for every year. And those students then are interviewed, and it's basically, how a recognition of individual students on the teams. Certainly all of the students have a huge impact on the teams, no matter what they do. But these students are the ones that go over and above. And this award was actually created in memory and created by Dean Kamen in memory of his parents, who were very crucial to the education. So Dean's List is basically your top student of your team being nominated, and then they are not nominees for the event. And then each regional and district events can nominate or recognize 2 finalists, and those finalists are presented with a certificate, and then they are invited to Worlds to be part of the crazy first competition down there for championship. And then down there, 10 FRC and 10 FTC students are named to the Dean's List for the year, and those are the students that just have a big impact. So certainly being in that, being able to be part of that is huge. I know all teams nominate and do the write-ups for them, and I was fortunate enough that the Dean's List student this year was one of my students that we wrote up for her, with the impact she has on our team and everything like that. So getting to I've never been in the Dean's List ceremony before, so sitting next to all of these students and mentors that have been recognized for their impact is significant. And listening to Dean Kamen and Blair go through everything, it was really cool to see. So it was a great award. We're very excited for her. Our Dean's List student won it in the Great Northern Regional in Grand Forks, so that was really fun to see and be close to home with all of our teams that we're friends with. And it's an award that I've never had anyone on my teams win before, so it's really cool and a new process. So again, it's something where the mentors nominate the students. We nominated our students, and then they get interviewed, and it's an awarded category based on the interview and our write-up.
Awesome. And just with this event, as in the event as a whole, was there any moments to you that stood out most? I know the Dean's List one is probably way on top of that, is that near the top, but what were some other moments that kind of just stood out to you, maybe whether it be small moments, big moments, just anything in general?
Yeah, first Worlds, everyone, it's a huge draw. When you get 600 teams under one roof for FRC competitions, it is significant. And for teams that don't go a lot, it's a big thing. There are some teams that have gone more than others. But just throughout the build season and competition season, you're seeing these big name teams that have some really high caliber robots. And getting to go to the competition, competing alongside of them is amazing. Certainly there were moments where you had Mark Rolberg come in and was walking around. Certainly Dean Kamen in the house is always fun to see him and listen to him. They'll hand him the mic and he can talk for an hour and you're just, raptured with what he's talking about. Just all the first leadership and all the other volunteers and mentors that are there that, these are the, people that you want to always network with and talk to. And it was fun to get to see people that you necessarily see on videos or presentations. Then you're like, oh, hey, I know that person, or hey, you, okay, cool, nice to meet you. So that's always a ton of fun when we're down at Worlds. And then too, it's just being able to get the kids out and about to see other things. Championship was a ton of fun. There are other things around Houston to look at and do in the area. But really, it's just for a lot of us, it's getting down there and networking, seeing the caliber of teams, getting to talk with them and how they approach the season and the build and everything like that. And it's just all around a great competition and a ton of fun to be there.
Yeah, I know when we were at like the Great Northern Regional, when students would walk in there, they're like, oh, I can't believe like how big the event is and how overwhelming it is. When you walk into a place that goes like to that magnitude, like you mentioned, 600 teams, just how is that overwhelming at first? Like, or is that like sensory overload type thing?
The first time you walk in to the main arena where they have all 8 fields end to end to end. So you look down, you get on one side and you look down and all you see is 8 fields lined up end to end. That was one of those where it's like, okay, I need a minute here to comprehend this. This is unbelievably huge. So yeah, that is for someone. I haven't been to Worlds since 2011 when it was in St. Louis, and there were at that time was only 4 fields, and then you go this year and there's 8. It just wow. That took a minute to realize, and just with the teams going back and forth and all of the major vendors that were as well showing off their items. It's big for sure.
And you kind of mentioned it there, going it from like 4 to 8 and how it's like basically doubled in size since then. I mean, just you mentioned that you've been going since like 2011, and just how big has the sport like grown in size since you've first seen? Like what's the biggest change that you've seen from since then?
Just the sheer number of growth. Up until 2021, with COVID, first it actually broken Worlds out and had it you had 2 different locations doing Worlds, or first championship, 2 different locations doing champs, and you had 6 fields there. Certainly after COVID in 2022, then they had reduced it back down to 1 event, but 8 fields. So certainly from 2010 and 2011, when it was 4 fields, to growing to 6, and now we're at 8 back in 1 event. There's the sport and the activity is exploded. Certainly now you've got. You've kind of the first big celebrity that jumped onto it was will.i.am back in 2010, 2011. Now you've got, more celebrities, YouTube personalities like Mark Rolberg was there, with Crunch Labs. So that was very significant to have him in the house. And then just kind of some of the bigger name scientists that are, again, having big name scientists like students are recognizing. At one point in time, Grant Imahara was a mentor for a team out of California. So you start having Mythbusters walking around, and students realizing that yes, the event has grown, teams have grown. We're over 3,000, approaching 4,000 teams now in FRC globally, and now you're to an event where you got 600 of the top teams there. It has certainly exploded, and the popularity has taken off, and the impact is being seen and felt. year after year, even with some of the research that FIRST does, with the students that are participants in FIRST, and the lifelong positive impacts they have is very significant.
You kind of mentioned with like the big names in science, like you kind of mentioned, there's like scientists there, celebrities involved. How about like a business or businesses and organizations as well? Like, because I think I've heard in the past, like, oh yeah, like even like NASA or someone has had a booth set up. Is that also kind of?
Yep. So NASA certainly was there. NASA actually ran the machine shops. So they were there. Certainly they had a stand-in booth. You had Haas had their F1 car there. So for a lot of students and even adults like myself, that was the closest I've ever been to a Formula One car. So that was really interesting. But then you've got the big names up in the vendor innovation fair. Crunch Labs is a big one. All you had a bunch of different people up there. The ones that we interact with a lot are the vendors, such as Andy Mark, Rev, Thrifty Bots, CTRE, and then the big one locally that was there was DigiKey. It was fun to see DigiKey, and we're like, hey, yeah, DigiKey, we know you guys. You're in Fargo or right up around Thief River too. So it was fun to have someone like that there and just interact and see their booths and what products they have and what they're coming out with next, and just be there.
And I know you mentioned also that they did like a tease or show off what next year's game was going to be. So I guess you kind of want to maybe either tell us maybe a little hint or tell us a little bit about it.
So for the last few years, FIRST has been doing a theme for the seasons, where FTC, FLL, the Lego League and Tech Challenge events are getting to, having a theme involved. So there's some continuity between the three levels. And this year is FIRST, or for the 2025 season, is FIRST a Dive. Now, for the last 5-6 years, everybody's been joking that they want a water game. They want a submersible robot and play in the water and everything like that. And so that's always, that's how they've a water game. So now this, for the last about year and a half, FIRST has kind of been joking, teasing around about a water game. So they are really spinning into it this year. And with the season being FIRST to Dive, presented by Qualcomm again. And it's really focusing on the oceans and the impact they have. So for Lego League, they also released the name of the games. And that's all we have is the name of the games. We don't know fields or anything like that. We'll start finding that out next school year. But the name for FIRST Lego League is Submerged. You got FTC, which is Into the Deep. And then for FRC, the game next year is going to be Reefscape. And the description that they have with it is in Reefscape, presented by Haas, a new challenge launching January 4th, 2025. So that'll be kickoff for everyone interested. FRC teams will use their engineering skills to strengthen our ocean's most diverse habitat, making waves to build a better world. So certainly spitting into the water theme of the game. I caution everyone we're not building a submarine. There is still some logistic requirements around a water game that just can't allow a full pool to be set up. Certainly like in Grand Forks, we're very fortunate where you might be able to pull something else off, but in a gym or on a basketball court, that would be a challenge. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't want to be in a swimsuit all day for 3 days straight at a robotics competition in the middle of January.
Supposed to say something tells me a Babbitt High School wouldn't enjoy setting up a pool in the middle of their gym.
Right, exactly. So we'll see, but it's really cool that with the themes, certainly with it being water and ocean themed, it will be a really cool to see what aspects of the game are going to be focused on that, and how First is going to challenge the teams and change things up a little bit. Certainly, we saw a lot of introduction and a lot of teams go to a swerve drive configuration this year on the robot, which is fantastic, and it makes the game really fun and exciting and fast paced and crashes. But it certainly showed a lot of wear and tear on the field. So, we'll see if they change anything up to maybe focus on more of precision over speed, but we won't know for a few months still.
Yeah, now just kind of taking a look at this past season, and like I said, we're kind of nearing that end where we're kind of wrapping up on it. I believe State Robotics might still be kind of finishing up some stuff.
Yep.
But,
So Minnesota State Robotics is actually next weekend, May 4th.
Oh.
The NMRC again has a great showing. We have 5 teams attending state. Those teams this year attending are 2883 Fred, 3134 the Accelerators, 3297 Full Metal Jackets, 5172 Gator Robotics, and 5913 Patriotics.
Okay. And yeah, just taking a look at this season so far, how do you feel that it went? Like I know we kind of started the year back in a Babbitt, and then we kind of moved on to the Great Northern Regional,
Yep.
all the different ones in between. So yeah, just overall, how did you feel it went this year with the crescendo theme?
The game was fun. It was a challenge when you got those 14-inch diameter foam rings and you're going to have to shoot them. That was a challenge. Certainly we saw some damage to them. It was a challenge to pick them up, move them around. Some parts of the game with the stage climbing and doing that trap at the end, I thought would come into play a little bit more in early on in competitions. Certainly getting onto the chain, getting onto the stage had a significant impact. But as the season went on and the robots got a little more accurate and better at handling the note game piece or the ring, it really became more focused on scoring. And I don't quote me, but I believe the current record for the game is 195 points, 196, and about 152 of them are scored in the speaker with the rings. That was very significant. The other thing that I didn't know how it would play out, but turned out to have a huge impact as well, as the amp scoring to get the amplification bonus. That really came in the final matches when the championship occurred. It was very interesting to see the robots and the way they approached it, and it was a lot of one robot scoring and 2 robots just getting game pieces across the field to score that. So that played out a little differently. I thought we'd see a little bit more in the stage points being focused, but really it was as many points as you could possibly score in the speaker this year versus last year with Charged Up, where you had a set number of notes, set number of cones and cubes that you could score. So yeah, the focus was a little different. Certainly we saw a lot of it in scoring for sure, and the fast back and forth. Early on in champs, you saw a lot of high scoring. And then towards the end, during the championship rounds, you were seeing more defense come into play. And it was really interesting, the evolution of just the finals matches between the fields and the Einstein field, how the points shook out and how the teams and alliances approached each match.
And I know also taking a look toward next year a little bit more. I know the biggest thing is always just to be able to promote robotics to as many people as possible, get more students into the sport. So I'll kind of turn it over to you here and just kind of, can you give me maybe 3, 4, 5 reasons that robotics is maybe beneficial to a student who's maybe looking for an organization to join, or maybe even looking to join robotics?
So it's been said before, and I'll say it again. FRC in robotics is the hardest fun you'll ever have. It challenge is students and mentors alike to build a robot that they're proud of and take it to a competition and compete in have fierce competition, but at the same time in a area of respect and gratitude towards everybody. And again, that comes into the first philosophies of gracious professionalism and cooperation, where you have people helping each other and recognizing engineering and all of the STEM disciplines in fierce competition in matches that are tight and intense, but then at the same time helping each other in the pits, helping each other in the off seasons or during the build season, and sharing knowledge and sharing information, and just the whole appreciation for the sport, the activity, the whole practice that we do, and getting students to understand and getting students and adults to understand, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're building a robot. And to do that, look at all the different things that we did to do this. And now here's how you turn it into a career or a college degree or anything like that. So anyone that has, looks at it and goes, hey, this looks like could be fun, or just, hey, this is kind of cool, I encourage you to reach out to NMRC, to STEM Alliance, to FIRST, to your local high school and get involved. Because students that are involved in FIRST, you could start throwing all kinds of stats out, but basically are 2.5 to 3.5 times more likely to pursue a career in the STEM disciplines in computer science, engineering, mathematics, science. So there's just so much there that, yeah, you're going to have a ton of fun doing it. You're going to build a really cool robot. You're going to go to some cool competitions. You might get to go down to first championship again next year in Houston. Or you might get to go to some fun regionals. I know we had a few teams go to like Las Vegas for a regional, or Arkansas. We've had teams go down to Utah, or even further out. So there's always that fun school trip that you get to miss a few days of school for, and just get to have a lot of fun with your friends on the team. So there's just so much that you can do. And if you have no experience at all, you've never touched a tool in your life, but you go, hey, it might be fun to be in robotics, there is no prerequisites or skills required. Come join the team or join any team, and they'll teach you everything you need to know.
Awesome. Well, Rory, before we get going here today, was there anything else about the NMRC this past season, the upcoming season, just anything else before we get going here today?
So again, for the official first season is wrapped up now. Certainly Minnesota State High School League has their event in May 4th. And then NMRC will have their championship at the end of October, along with an open event in Bemidji this year. So anyone in the area, please come check it out. And I can tease right now that we are already planning kickoff. I know I will be doing a kickoff at Fargo again this year, and that will be January 4th. We'll figure out what time it is when it gets closer, but it'll be a Saturday. We're also going to be doing our pre-kickoff show for FRC Northland as well again. That was new this year. So we're just getting going again into the season. Certainly getting into off season now is where we get to have a little more fun with our off season events and all of that. So the official season might be done, but the fun is just starting. I can promise that.
Awesome. Well, Rory, again, thank you for your time here today. And good luck as you prepare for next year. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the year.
Thank you.